Caitlyn Clark just changed the entire landscape of the Women's National Basketball Association forever, and the people calling her a media creation or just plain lucky are completely missing the point. Everyone is looking at the headlines about the Indiana Fever or the draft picks, but nobody is talking about the real reason why the entire league shifted in real time. If you stay until the end of this video, you are going to find out why the media narrative around this season is built on a half-truth, the one specific statistic that completely changes how you see the biggest controversy in the league, and the real reason why what is happening right now is actually bigger than basketball. Quick note, before we dive into the deep end here, everything you are about to hear is based on publicly available information, verified reports, and our own intensive film and data analysis. This channel is not affiliated with Caitlyn Clark, the Indiana Fever, or the Women's National Basketball Association because we are not here to take sides. We are here to break down what the data actually says. All opinions expressed are for entertainment and informational purposes only because we respect every single player in this conversation. Now let us get into the heart of the storm, because on April 6th, 2026, the first day of free agency, the Chicago Sky made a decision that felt like an absolute exorcism. Angel Reese, a two-time All-Star and one of the most dominant rebounders on paper, was traded to the Atlanta Dream for 2 future first-round picks and a second-round swap. On the surface, it looked like a rebuild package, future picks instead of present talent, with no blockbuster return and no negotiation war. It was a decision made fast and executed even faster. But then, something even stranger happened, because the moment she was gone, Chicago stopped acting like a franchise people avoided. Within mere days, elite veterans and top-tier talent started signing with the Sky without a single second of hesitation. We are talking about names like Skylar Diggins, Dejounte, Carrington, Azura, Stevens, and Ricuna Williams. These are not names that trickle into a rebuild, they are names that flood into a contender. So, the real question we have to ask ourselves today is not what Chicago gave up. It is what everyone suddenly believed about Chicago the second Angel Reese was no longer there. If you only read the stat sheet, you would think Chicago had a franchise cornerstone because Angel Reese's numbers look like the foundation of something special. She averaged 14 points per game and nearly 13 rebounds across 64 career games, leading the entire league in rebounding both years she was in the city. She averaged 13.1 boards as a rookie and followed it up with 12.6 per game in her second season. She broke the single-season record previously held by Sylvia Fowles and put up a record-breaking streak of consecutive double-doubles that got her compared to some of the best bigs in the history of the game. You would think the wins were about to follow, but they never did. The Sky went 13-27 in her first year, and then fell even further to 10-34 in her second year. That is not a young team finding its footing, that is a franchise moving in the wrong direction with the same centerpiece the entire time. Reese was a combined 23-61 as the team's featured player, which is a winning percentage of just 27%. And those rebounding numbers that headlined every highlight package deserve a much closer look, because roughly 35% of her offensive rebounds as a rookie, approximately 53 out of 150, came from her own missed shots. She shot 39.1% from the field as a rookie and less than 50% on shots within 3 feet of the basket. That is a staggering and frankly embarrassing number for a player who does the majority of her work in the paint. She would miss a layup, grab her own miss again, and sometimes grab that one too, and every one of those grab backs counted the same on the stat sheet as pulling down a contested defensive board against a physical post player. There was one sequence against the New York Liberty in 2025 where she grabbed 4 offensive rebounds in a single possession without ever scoring. She finished that game 0 for 5 from the field in the first quarter, with 5 of her 7 rebounds coming off her own missed layups. Her efficiency told the real story with an effective field goal percentage of just 42.6% and a three-point shooting percentage of 18.4%. In 2025, her turnover rate exploded to 22.9% as she averaged 4.0 turnovers per game, the second worst in the entire league behind only Caitlyn Clark. But here is the massive difference that the critics do not want to acknowledge. Clark was running an offense that produced wins, while Reese's turnovers produced nothing but shorter possessions for a team that was already struggling to score. The front office saw it, head coach Tyler Marsh saw it, and her teammates saw it too. Her contributions were making her own stat sheet look better without making the people around her better, and in a team sport, that is the kind of production that traps a franchise in mediocrity. You cannot trade someone who looks like an all-star on paper without explaining why, and you cannot build a winning team around someone whose impact does not translate to winning. Chicago was stuck in that contradiction for 2 full years. But the on-court stuff, as damaging as it was not even the part that finally broke things open, because the real story of Angel Reese in Chicago was about what was happening in the room where nobody was watching. The damage was quiet, cumulative, and ultimately impossible to repair. Courtney Vandersloot had spent years building her career and winning championships in Chicago, earning every bit of respect in that locker room. She is the kind of player teammates run through walls for a 5-time All-Star and 2-time champion who left a championship-caliber team in New York, specifically to come back and help the Sky rebuild. And when Vandersloot got hurt, Reese reportedly called her old and washed up, not in a private conversation, but in a way that got back to the team fast. Reese went on the record telling reporters that the team could not rely on Courtney at her age and that they needed someone younger with championship experience. The irony is almost unbearable because Vandersloot is one of the most accomplished winners in league history, while Reese has never played a single playoff game. Then, Camila Cardoso walked out. And it was not just a subtle disagreement or a tense practice, it was a full walkout during a team situation involving Reese. Cardoso was the player Chicago was genuinely building around a 7-foot center from South Carolina they saw as the future of the franchise. When the player you are constructing an entire system around decides that staying in the room is not something she is willing to do, that tells you everything about how toxic the environment had become. Cardoso is not dramatic. She just plays basketball, so if she walked out, the situation had gone past the point of quiet management into something that threatened the entire organization. One game late in 2025 captured it perfectly, when television cameras caught Cardoso visibly giving up during play and physically walking toward the opposing New York Liberty bench as if she wanted to sit down with them instead. It was the body language of a player who had mentally checked out of her own team, and the entire internet saw it happen in real time. Then came the suspensions. Chicago suspended Reese, and franchises do not get to that point easily. A suspension is what happens when the front office has already tried every quieter option, every warning, and every intervention, and none of it stuck. By the time a team suspends their own player, they have run out of patience. Between the team suspension, a separate league suspension for accumulating too many technical fouls, and a back injury, Reese missed the Sky's final 4 games of the season. And then her own teammates went public calling her a locker room cancer. That phrase does not come out in professional sports unless the damage was real and deep, because players usually protect each other by default. When they break that code, it means the situation affected how they worked and how they felt walking into that building every single day. Yahoo Sports published an article that did not hold back reporting that the organization could not stand her and the locker room was doing backflips once she was gone. Late in that season, Reese gave an interview to the Chicago Tribune that poured gasoline on an already burning building, saying she was not settling for the same stuff they did that year and that they needed to get great players as a non-negotiable for her. She eventually apologized, but the damage was done because she had publicly called out her front office, her coaching staff, and her own teammates on the record. The very people she needed to rebuild trust with were the people she blamed for losing. So you had the front office watching win totals drop while the locker room was falling apart, and they decided those two facts could not coexist anymore. When the trade happened, General Manager Jeff Pagliocca released a carefully worded statement calling it a move designed to achieve roster balance. Roster balance is just front office language for "we needed her gone, and this was the fastest way to do it." Pagliocca had been coveting Skylar Diggins for years, having tried and failed to sign her in 2024, but he could not build the roster he wanted with the current situation in place. The trade was not an ending. It was the removal of an obstacle. No player of her supposed caliber gets moved before her third season for future picks, unless the team trading her has decided the picks are worth more than she is right now. Chicago did not shop her for months or hold out for a proven piece in return. They took Atlanta's draft capital without blinking. And then something happened that made the whole situation almost painful to watch if you are a fan of hers, because while she was celebrating her new chapter on social media with new hairstyles and Atlanta vibes, the relief inside the Chicago locker room was strategic and immediate. The second she was gone, the front office could finally make the calls they had wanted to make for months. They gave her number 5 jersey to Racuna Williams, just handed it right over while her fans online were demanding the number be retired. Jersey retirements are for players who brought championships and deep playoff runs, but Reese's teams went 13-27, then 10-34, so there is simply nothing to retire. The Sky did not just move on, they replaced her name, her number, and the entire narrative around the franchise. Within a single week, they signed Skylar Diggins to a 2-year, $1.86 million deal. Diggins is an Olympic gold medalist and 6-time All-WNBA point guard who elevates everyone around her. Head coach Tyler Marsh said she was here because she knows the fake from the real. Then, Azura Stevens came home on a 3-year deal worth $1 million annually after averaging career highs in Los Angeles. Dejonai Carrington, the 2024 Most Improved Player and first-team All-Defensive selection, signed on to bring two-way versatility. They traded for Racuna Williams and J.C. Sheldon, the 5th overall pick from 2024, and then selected Gabriela Jaquez, 5th overall, in the 2026 draft. In the span of just 10 days, Chicago went from owning the league's worst 2-year record to having a roster that multiple analysts were calling a potential playoff team. The transformation was so complete and fast that it felt like a franchise that had been holding its breath for 2 years and finally exhaled. The starting 5 of Diggins, Sheldon, Carrington, Jackson, and Cardoso is built on defense, versatility, and players who make others better. Chicago did not just replace her with players who do more, they replaced her with players who were finally willing to come. For 2 years, players would not touch Chicago with a 10-foot pole, but the phone started ringing the second the locker room changed. That is not a coincidence, that is a verdict. Diggins admitted she knew the vision before a lot of people did, which means Chicago had been planning this overhaul for a while and just needed the obstacle to clear first. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, the roster looks intriguing on paper with Ryan Howard and Alicia Gray, but the reality of locker room reputations is starting to set in. Word moves through the league fast, and some players decided they would rather go somewhere else than sign with a roster built around Reese. Brittany Griner, a 2-time champion and league most valuable player, left Atlanta for the Connecticut Sun just days after the trade went through. She did not leave because of money or coaching, she left because of roster direction, and the biggest change in that direction was the addition of Angel Reese. Reese was reportedly furious when free agents were not jumping at the chance to join her, but the answer was sitting right in front of her the whole time. Atlanta went 30-14 in 2025, but lost in the first round to an undermanned Indiana Fever team that was playing without Caitlyn Clark. So the roster math is not flattering, because they replaced a two-time champion and league most valuable player in Griner with a player who has never played a playoff game and whose teams went 13-27 and 10-34. Now consider what Indiana has, because Caitlyn Clark arrived when the Fever owned the worst record in the league and dragged them to the playoffs in her first season. What Clark does to a defense is not just about her own scoring. She pulls defenders out of position from 30 feet away, freeing her teammates like Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell to work in space. The whole offense breathes differently with Clark running it. Indiana did not need an off-season transformation because the foundation was already there. They just needed another year together. Reese spent 2 years keeping Chicago stuck in reconstruction mode, which meant the Fever got 2 extra years to build something that Atlanta and Chicago are only now starting to catch up to. That gap is not closing, because Atlanta cannot fill their roster while Chicago keeps signing stars. The player responsible for both problems is sitting in a new city wondering why nobody is calling. Caitlyn Clark walked into Indiana and turned them into winners in one season, doing it with her teammates, not over them. She made the players around her better. She made the franchise more attractive to free agents, and she made Indiana a destination. That is the difference between a stat sheet star and a franchise-changing player. And the gap between those two careers is widening with every offseason. Chicago may have moved forward, and Atlanta may have moved on, but the tension that set all of this in motion has not actually been resolved, it has just been redistributed. So now the real test begins to see if this was a clean break or the beginning of a storyline that will only make sense once both sides meet again under pressure with everything on the line. And when that moment comes, will we finally understand what Chicago saw that made them willing to reset everything and what the rest of the league is still trying not to say out loud? When you look at the comments from fans, the debate is just as heated. Some people are asking if it is 13 rebounds per game or 13 me-bounds per game, while others are calling her the greatest brick forward ever. There are fans saying she needs to grow up and stop the nonsense because everyone has been watching what she did to Caitlyn Clark. Some even suggest that her bloated ego got in the way and that she is overrated and immature. There is a clear sentiment that other players want someone who will work to make the whole team look good, which explains why all these free agents are now interested in joining Chicago. One observer even pointed out that at the end of a game, when her team had already lost, she stood there creating double-doubles for herself instead of playing winning basketball. Beyond the basketball, Caitlyn Clark's story teaches us something we can all use in our own lives, because when an entire system seems designed to slow you down and the crowd still shows up for you anyway, that is not luck. That is proof that doing the work in silence eventually speaks louder than any controversy. Clark did not silence her critics by arguing, she silenced them by playing. Pressure does not build champions, how you respond to pressure does. Clark walked into a league that was not ready for her carried expectations, no rookie should carry, and still showed up every single night. That is not just a sports story, it is a blueprint for how to handle being a disruptor in any field. In a world that wanted her to be perfect from day one, Clark's real superpower was not her shooting range, it was her willingness to be imperfect in public and keep going anyway. If Caitlyn Clark has ever given you a moment that made you jump off your couch, drop a basketball emoji in the comments right now and let us show how many people are riding with her. And let us know, do you think she gets treated fairly by the league, the media, and her peers? Drop your honest take below, because we read every single one and we do not delete opinions. Every comment helps this story reach more sports fans who deserve to hear the full picture, not just the headlines. So if you think the truth matters, Make some noise right now. Now you know the full story of what is really happening around Caitlyn Clark. But there is one player whose journey makes this controversy look like just the warm-up. I already made a video about it, and trust me, you do not want to miss it. It is right there on your screen. If Clark's story got you thinking, wait until you hear what happened behind the scenes with the next player in our series. That video is on your screen right now.